As energy companies look for new and exciting ways to fuck our planet raw, a recent startup has raised $63 million to really drill Mama Earth dirty and penetrate deep down to a record-shattering 12 miles with the intention to harness boundless geothermal energy. So my question to you, is this the solution to our oil-fueled climate crisis, or is this just a geothermal Jurassic Park in the making?
Pretty sure there's a movie about this and what happens.
There's a few movies about this.
And I don't think any of them ended like well.
What do you think, Eric?
I think this is one of those topics where, going back to the oil conversation, it diverts a little bit from talking about that we can't maintain our current level of energy consumption and puts all of our eggs in one basket for some alternative energy source to save us. There are a lot of downsides. I just don't know that we have enough information really about like doing this at the kind of scale that would be necessary to be beneficial. Because just like fracking, it causes earthquakes. There are serious geological disruptions that come along with it, and there are some other externalities, I guess, just in the operation of the power plants, the geothermal power plants that are needed. So, probably overall it's cleaner and it would be a good opportunity to diversify our energy resources. But I think that we need to do a lot more research about the externalities. And then also, I have the question of where are we going to put these? And is it going to be the same sort of historical kind of disadvantagings of people, whether they be indigenous people or rural people, et cetera? Where are we going to pop these power plants?
Yeah, they never dig the 12-mile deep hole in the earth next to Trump Tower, right? Yeah. It's always the most poor, least enfranchised communities that they wake up one day and there's just there's an 8-mile hole in front of their house and what the goddamn fuck? And Shay and I kind of made a joke about this as well. I guess Eric didn't take the bait, but when we first read the article, it just said company. Company has decided to dig hole. And I was like, okay, what company? And my guess was some fucking defense contract company. But
can I ask a question?
Yes.
What are they digging for down there? Is there a pocket of Energizer batteries that someone stored deep within the earth? What are they going for here?
They are literally just digging for hot. They're like, I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of hot down there. Let's get the hot.
Take that. Got it.
Yeah, we could take the hot and do the science to it, and then the science becomes electricity.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is, and what Shay and I were joking about earlier was I feel like if I don't know, if this was. And maybe I'm being naive, but I feel I would be almost a little bit more comfortable if this was government sanctioned, and they're all right, people power, we're going to try to find alternative forms of energy. And it's going to be shared with the masses. But really, it's private company has decided to form another, not content with just having oil. Private company wants more consolidated power.
Yeah, so it is really fascinating. And this is absolutely not a government organization that's talking about it. So this company is spawned out of MIT. Its name, Ian doesn't want me to say the name.
I'm in the beginning, but now say the name.
We're prepare a listener for a beep, but for the audience here, the name is. They're an MIT startup, whatever. They have funding and backing from a lot of different organizations. And so to read a little bit from who? Good question. But to read a little bit from there's several articles about this, and here's some quote from one of them. After many years of failure to launch, new companies and technologies have brought geothermal out of its doldrums to the point that it may finally be ready to scale up and become a major player in clean energy. In fact, if its more enthusiastic backers are correct, geothermal may hold the key to making 100% clean electricity available to everyone in the world. And as a bonus, it's an opportunity for the struggling oil and gas industry to put its capital and skills to work on something that won't degrade the planet.
Nothing is 100% clean, so that's already deeply problematic.
Yeah, and also oil and gas companies are looking those poor guys are struggling. They need another alternative.
I knew you would have feelings about this, Ian, and you're right. Anytime the goil and ass fuck.
Goyle and ass.
Anytime the Goyle and ass companies get excited about something, I shudder a little bit. And so actually, Vic Rao, the former chief technology officer at none other than Halliburton, recently told the geothermal blog Heatbeat that geothermal is no longer a niche play. It's scalable, potentially in a highly material way. Scalability gets the attention of the oil industries. But I know it's sketchy, but there are some aspects to this that I'm on board for. I honestly, there's a part of me that loves the idea of justice, and I really want to see the oil companies getting their long-term comeuppance for fucking planet for so long. But I also like the idea of being able to retool the infrastructure that has been used by them to do something that is far less detrimental to the planet. And yes, they're going to get rich off of it, and I fucking hate that, because I really would rather them suffer, and kind of pay the price of whatever. But at least there is a potential to see a world that is a little bit better. And to Eric's point, there are risks. There are absolutely risks. And here I'll quote from the article again. The fluids used are benign, so there's little danger of water pollutions. Worries about induced seismic activities are somewhat overblown. In oil and gas drilling, it is high-volume water disposal wells associated with seismicity, and enhanced geothermal systems don't have those. The fractures are smaller, more controlled, and under far less pressure than in oil and gas fracking. As long as drillers avoid fault lines, which they're getting better at doing, the risk is modest, especially relative to the benefits. Ironically, geothermal projects have to meet more seismic safety conditions comparatively than oil and gas projects. So they actually have to operate in a more safe framework than fracking operations are working now. Do I trust that there's going to be enforcement for that? I don't fucking know. I have my doubts or whatever. But again, compared to this lesser evil, I'm kind of seeing that as a benefit. And I guess hearing this other information, maybe Guggen, does this, how are you feeling about this? Does this change your mind one way or the other if you see that there's a potential green aspect to this?
I mean, maybe there is. I don't have enough information to say definitively, but the bounds on the things you just mentioned do seem very ambiguous. It probably won't poison the water.
Sure.
You'll probably get less earthquakes. We're definitely we're gonna care about safety more for sure. Don't worry about it. That's what I'm that's what I'm hearing. It doesn't. None of it seems definitive.
I'm reminded of that tweet that was scientists these days are companies will read a book called Never Make the Doomsday Device from Planet X and then be like, wow, we made the Doomsday Device from the book Never Make the Doomsday Device from Planet X. It's just I've seen this movie, it never ends okay. It just seems like such a cautionary tale. And again, I don't trust the oil and gas companies to find another way to exploit us, as far as I can throw them. I'm just, again, maybe if it was a people-owned project and it was very transparent and we could know everything that's going on, I might be oh, fuck yeah, alternative energy. But the fact that our government is probably paying them to do this, just I don't trust it. I'm I like the idea of it, but fuck the big hole. Fuck the big hole. That sounds weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you, Ian. I think that I would have a different orientation to this if the initial sort of outlay, research and development, was public owned and not just being subsidized with public funds for private profit. That would change the framing significantly. But the other thing that's true is that these kinds of geothermal power plants already exist. They exist in Europe, in either Australia or New Zealand. I can't remember which. And the kinds of externalities have been documented. We have real case studies where land structures have been changed in detrimental ways, where there's been seismic activity and the lack of land stability, where these plants have been built. So what Shay was quoting there was really fuzzy, probably not as bad, probably won't, destroy the earth. But the other thing that's true is that the earth is already cooling. And so we're also going to be speeding up the degree at which the earth is cooling. And I mean, yeah, we'd have to be creating geothermal power plants at scale, probably, to see that in any kind of like near term. But none of the articles that like I've come across just widely on the internet really get into any of the math involved in determining what the impact would be. Because I feel like that's probably not as like rosy of an outlook as the investors' outlook.
I guess guns to your heads. You don't want to leave
Several
anybody
guns,
out.
all of your heads.
Okay, everyone in this room has a gun to their head. No, yeah, like so like, are we like, if you had to like punch the buzzer, would you be, if this was going to happen and if this was a NIMBY situation, I mean, like, would you be like, fuck yeah, like drill baby drill, or like, I don't know. If they were going to tell me that like, yeah, we're going to drill the 12-mile hole in Somerville, Massachusetts, I would be like, on the front of the picket lines being like, fuck the big hole.
I would hold that sign.
I'm pro giant hole, actually. I'm a big fan of the big hole. Guggen?
I don't have enough information to definitively say, but gun to my head,
there's a gun to your head, Guggen. There's no time for this.
I'd say do it. I think, I mean, as a big fan of technology, and I'm generally optimistic, so I think people will figure out the right way to do things. It does seem a little weird that we're kind of sucking the heat out of our Earth's core. I mean, you don't get something from nothing, right? So that heat is not coming back, but I don't know. Yeah, go for it.
Well, all right.
Fuck the big hole.
Let me give you one more piece of information, then we can leave this section behind. So, geothermal power, if it can be made reliably and economically work in hotter, drier, and deeper rock, is a permanent complement to wind and solar. It's renewable and inexhaustible. It can run as baseload power around the clock, including night, or load follow to complement renewables fluctuations, since wind and solar energy typically only work during the day.
How is it inexhaustible?
It's inexhaustible because the heat from the Earth apparently
never goes away.
Never goes away. Well,
that's against basic physics, I think.
Right now, it's going away right now.
Yeah, it's going away. But my understanding is it would take, from the articles I've read, there's not a hill I'm going to die on. Billions of years is the time frame that they say it would take for anything close for the ability for the Earth to cool on any level that's substantial. In fact, with just 0.1% of the Earth's the Earth's heat being harnessed, we could power all of civilization for, I'm pretty sure they said, generations. So it's a very small amount of heat we're doing. And we're
two whole generations.
Technically 2 is plural.
2 at the least. Yeah, for 0.1%. But it's also...
honestly, we're all going to be dead by then anyway, so it doesn't fucking matter. Drill the hole, I don't care. Like,
we're going to need it when we're living in our underground cities after the atmosphere has disappeared.
The hole is going to function as like a fallout shelter after the nuclear war. Like...
All right. Well, I can see you guys aren't joining me in my giant, my big hole fallout shelter geothermal landscape paradise, but you guys can just rot on the surface. That's fine.
All right. So
pretty much doing it already, so no big difference.